Should we center first?
Yes. Okay. We're going to take a second and just ground ourselves. It's been a day. It's been a morning. Okay.
It's only 8:30.
It's only 8:30. Okay.
Let's do it. Do you want me to guide it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh,
Okay. All right. We'll sit up nice and tall. Close our eyes. Take a big breath in. Deep breath out. Connecting to the earth, to our sit bones, our feet, our contact to the earth. We are grounded, we are centered. And with palms facing up, we set our intention. We call in our guides. We set the intention today to call in our team of divinity, angels that guide us, archangels, well-meaning ancestors, our higher selves, spirit animals, all guide us. We set the intention to open our hearts, to speak our truth, offer each other love and support, and offer others love and support. We do this with immense gratitude and deep love for ourselves and for others. And so it is.
Girl, you just prayed.
It is like prayer.
We're going to come back to that. Because
You're listening to the Feed the Soul podcast. We're talking about tackling tough stuff, chasing dreams, and figuring out who we really are. Each episode ends with a word of advice or encouragement, a nugget of inspiration to empower you to dream big and take that leap of faith into the wild adventure of life.
welcome to the Feed the Soul podcast. I'm your host, Savion, and whether you're watching, whether you're listening, thank you for joining me again. I'm with a special person, a classmate, a friend, a roomie.
Ruby.
So many things. Welcome, Olivia, to the podcast.
So happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
It truly is an honor.
Thank you. So we were having some issues this morning. We are not using microphones, and I think that actually helps. It just feels really authentic right now.
Yeah, it's hard to pray with a mic.
So Olivia and I met 2 years ago in this building. No.
Down the street.
Was it? We started there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, restore.
Okay. Yep. With our yoga teacher training, YTT 2022. And I don't think I talked about that on like the serving failure episode and maybe another one, but this is the journey that really changed my life. And with that was also Olivia. Mm-hmm. So very excited to have you here. Yeah. Let's introduce this space. I like to start off the episode with introducing the space. We are at Helium Hot Yoga, technically. Mm-hmm. Helium Hot Yoga is like, for me, it's like an umbrella.
Yes.
An umbrella name for multiple things that they have going on here. Helium Hot Yoga is upstairs of this space. There's actually a class going on right now. We have gently heated, and this is where you teach.
Yep. I teach here Sundays now.
Ooh.
Yeah. Saturday at 11 a.m.
Okay. Mm-hmm. We are located in the Cozy Studio, which is also in the same building of Helium Hot Yoga. We have Helium Restore, which is our non-heated location. Helium Hot Hit, which is also here in Bayview. And then Helium Hot Yoga, our West Dallas location. And that's where I teach Saturday mornings. The space offers lots of different things. Like I said, non-heated and heated classes, our high intensity and interval training classes. So we have Vinyasa here and Yin.
Slow flow. Yeah.
And different workshops.
Nice. Yeah.
And we'll talk about workshops later with Olivia because you host them.
Tons of
love
workshops.
So if you haven't already checked out like my personal page, and then you have Olivia's handles down in the description or the show notes with her handles, you can definitely check that out with the events that she has going on. And not just here. You have multiple studios.
Yeah, multiple studios.
Girl, we'll get there.
Yeah.
So much to learn. So much to learn. So that's the space. We have a 2-week unlimited class package for new students. But if you've been interested in learning about yoga or doing yoga, lots of opportunities throughout these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces that we have.
A lot of really wonderful teachers too.
Really
that could accommodate all sorts of levels of practice.
Yeah. I like to get a little snippet of who you are, just to tell them, to capture them, maybe relate to you a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, so my name is Olivia Flood. I'm based here in Milwaukee. I've been here for, 12 years now. Just like I'm getting that old where I can say that. I'm from Minnesota originally, but I'm a healer. I'm a yogi, a lover, a friend, a dog mom.
Dog mom? I knew you were going to say that. Because if you didn't, I was going to.
You met Lucy.
I have.
Yeah.
She was a little timid.
She's very timid. Yeah, she's timid with everybody. Oh, she's really attached to me and my husband.
I won't take it personally.
No, don't take it personally. It's just Lucy. So yeah, that's who I am. It's been a wild ride to get here. I come from a large corporate background, and so this big transition has happened over the course of 2 years now, which I'm sure we'll get to that too. But yeah, it's a season of transitions, which I know you can relate to as well.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Okay, so let's get into the meat of it. 12 years you've been here. Corporate background.
Yes.
So just going back, you don't have to go back 12 years. Go back 2 years, like right before we were getting into YTT. Mm-hmm. What was life like for you?
Well, it's the pandemic.
Oh,
so
right.
It was such a weird time. And I'm sure everybody can relate to this who's listening or watching. It was really strange. I was working for a company in sort of the startup industry. I was working a really stressful job that required a lot of events, a lot of in-person meetings, a lot of collaboration. And then the whole world shut down in March. So we all started to work from home. But in the background of that, what I was also going through was experiencing my grandmother slowly dying. She was diagnosed with cancer, which I know, sorry, that's very casual.
No, because the last episode is Serving Grief, and I talk about the death of my grandma.
This is how it happens, Savion. It's synchronicities. So.
Wasn't ready. Okay. I'd not planned at all.
Yeah, I think we shared similar stories. My grandmother, who is a very, very, very special person to me, she actually raised me. So she was very much like a mother figure to me. So when I found out that she was diagnosed with cancer, it was just, a whirlwind of emotions. And this was maybe in February. The world shut down in March. So just a lot of really big change, a lot of big emotions to deal with. Luckily, since the whole world shut down, I was able to go back home to Minnesota and visit her a lot and really spend that time with her. So
where was she?
She was in Minnesota. So my family's all
in someone's house or
with my mom.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I was able to go back and spend a lot of time with her, but the grieving process, which you probably know, happens before people actually pass.
Yeah.
So it was just a whirlwind of emotions. A lot of old wounds began to open that at the time I had no idea how to deal with, nor did I even recognize that these were old wounds showing themselves, like abandonment wounds, attachment wounds, just a lot of pain that I hadn't addressed from my childhood just hit me in the face. And so when you start to slow down, and I think a lot of people who slowed down a bit during the pandemic and you actually have space to be in the body, all of these things start to show up for you. And so that's what happened to me. And I was dealing with levels of anxiety I had never dealt with before. And I've always been a very even-keeled person. And so I'd be sitting at my desk trying to work, and I was having a hard time breathing. Sure. It's just those things started to happen to me. And so I was like, okay, what's going on here? And I don't even think I realized it was anxiety at the time because, again, you're still working, you're still going through the emotions of life. But the only thing that gave me peace was meditation. And so I downloaded a meditation app just to try it. And I just fell super deep into meditation. I tried all sorts of meditations. I created a little space in my makeshift attic just to have a quiet space to meditate. And then as soon as I could, I started to come back into my yoga practice. I'm sure you can also relate to this. My yoga practice kind of ebbed and flowed through the years leading up to YTT. But as soon as I could get back in the studios, I did. So
you're doing all of this, like even meditation in 2020?
In 2020, yes.
Had you already been meditating, or did you have to learn?
No, I had to learn about meditation. I had never sat down for a meditation before. I think the closest I ever got was doing yoga. The 2 minutes centering that the instructor guides you through before you move into class. So luckily, there's a lot of great apps out there. So I downloaded the app Insight Timer. They have a lot of guided meditations. And so I really resonated with visualizations because that's what kind of helped ground me and just get me out of my mind space, having something to, I guess, be to that focus point. Yeah. So 2020 was wild.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I also have to ask, when did your grandma pass away?
So she passed in August of 2020.
Okay, that fall.
And end of summer, fall. And we did yoga teacher training 2021, I believe. Right?
Right. Because 2022,
yes.
And we graduated last year.
Okay. Yes, you're right. And so in between that time, I had just gone on a roller coaster ride of learning. I wanted to learn as much as I could about meditation, about yoga, and everything in between. I was also feeling really unhappy with where I was for work. And so after my grandmother passed, again, it was a lot of processing of emotions. And I don't really think I was processing. Again, it was just, I was dealing with what was coming up at the time in the best way I could. As a lot of these emotions were arising, I would just find different ways to sort of cope with them. And so for me, it was just diving down this path of spirituality. I was listening to podcasts, I was reading books, going to workshops. And so one workshop in particular that was actually held here or at Restore, it was this body mechanics workshop, and it was breaking down a yoga pose. I think you've heard of it. Eric Brady used to run these at Restore, and I really liked it. I was like, wow, this was really interesting to just get in the body and really focus on really subtle micro movements to help you get into this asana pose. And so at that time, I had felt more connected to this esoteric world, if you will. And I remember leaving that class or that workshop and being like, wow, I wonder if I would like yoga teacher training. I wonder if I would like to learn more about yoga teacher training or yoga in general. And so what was funny is that as I was driving home, this car peeled out in front of me, and I was like, this asshole. But then I look in the back of the rearview window, and there was a bunch of sunflowers, and which is really interesting to me and significant to me because a friend that had passed in 2017, she loved sunflowers. And anytime I saw sunflowers, that's where it reminded me of her. And so I took that as a sign. I was like, interesting. I wonder if I'm being guided to do teacher training. And so I went home and I applied for Helium's yoga teacher training.
That day.
Yeah, that day. I talked to my husband, he was my fiance at the time, about it, and I applied. And what's even funny, speaking of synchronicities, the next class that I took, there was 3 songs that referenced sunflowers. So it was really affirming to me that I had made the right decision. And that's, that's my journey into teacher training.
2020, Grandma, do you remember the pose that you were doing?
It was pyramid pose.
Pyramid pose?
Yeah, we were breaking down pyramid pose.
Which is really, connecting with yourself, right? That forward fold action, really belly to thigh. And
it's a really grounding pose, actually.
It is.
Yeah.
Is that also considered a slight inversion?
Yeah, I guess it could be. It could be. It's focusing on, when I think of pyramid pose, it really helps open up the root chakra. which is really funny because at the time I was very ungrounded. And I remember my friend she did a reading for me, and she was like, you need to work on your root chakra. So, which is a really funny thing to think about now, actually.
So I got laid off from work.
Okay.
I was on a road trip out west when I was also in the car, just like, what am I doing with my life? What's going to happen next kind of thing. And
as one does when they're laid off. Which I can relate to. I've been laid off too.
Like literally, what am I? Right. What am I going to do next with my life? I don't know how yoga came about though. Like in that thought process.
Inspiration.
And I went to the Helium's website. I knew they had one.
Yeah. Were you practicing at Helium at the time?
I was practicing the summer before.
Okay.
So once they opened back up from COVID, which was dumb. I'm like, I'm getting into hot yoga for the first time in the summer. What? Yeah. And then right? So I knew that they had a yoga teacher training, and I went on their website. It's like, yes, confirmed. And I talked with Sarah because she had talked to me about it before. I emailed her, hey, interested in the program. What's it like? And she emailed, as she does.
Right away?
Within the hour. There's one spot left.
Oh, this happened in Ecuador too.
It happened in Ecuador.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, fuck it.
All right, doing it. This is a sign.
Yeah. And that's where we met.
And you were doing like health coaching, so
yes. Right. Maybe that's what it was. Because ultimately, like a big goal of mine is to have a wellness center, obviously a wellness retreat.
Yeah.
And so I've always wanted to incorporate yoga and breathing and meditation in that. So not specifically yoga, but also introducing people to food and meal prepping.
Which in teacher training, we did talk about food too.
We did, yeah.
Oh, it really is super foundational work for well-being, I think.
I just wanted to learn more about yoga for that and meditation. And here we are. So let's talk about where we are.
Okay.
We graduated last year.
Yep.
Like literally almost 1 year ago.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy.
It is crazy. Very full circle. Look where we are.
And very crazy. I tell you what, life is wild.
It really is. It really takes some time to look back.
To really reflect on things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you are teaching here at Helium Hot Yoga.
Yeah.
Where else?
I'm teaching here Sundays. I also teach at a studio called Collective Flow. They're based on the east side. Really cute, small studio. I teach at the Heart Revival Center, based in St. Francis. You didn't know that?
I thought you were just doing special things over there.
No, I started teaching there pretty much right away. Gem of a space. Like the community there is absolutely wonderful, super nurturing. Meg Lux was also the co-director of our teacher training. And so she super supportive off the bat and asked me to teach her, which was really exciting. And then I also teach at Soul Collective. They're based in Walker's Point. So I'm teaching a lot. I have sort of drawn back my schedule slightly. So I'm teaching now 6 times a week, 6 classes a week.
I've drawn back when teaching 6 times a week.
6 times a week. I really enjoy it though. I do a mix of slow flow, restorative yoga, classic vinyasa here. So
Sunday evening?
Sunday at 11 a.m. here.
Oh, 11. Okay. Cool. So, Heart Revival came first.
Heart and Helium came first. Yeah. And then someone sent me Collective Flow, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll apply. They were looking for teachers. So that felt very serendipitous. So it's a friend that we haven't connected with in a while. And she's like, hey, I know you graduated. You should check these guys out. And so I did. And so I initially started teaching there 3 times a week. And now I'm there twice a week. Or no, I was there 4 times a week. And now I'm there 3 times a week.
Yeah, 6 was a lot, even for me.
Yeah.
So to go down to 2 now.
Well, it took a while to find balance with that because we're doing a lot too. When I first started teaching yoga, I was like, oh, this is a breed. I love teaching yoga. And you still realize how hard it is on the body, especially when you're demoing the whole time.
Right.
I've had to scale it back even. And I think it was meant to happen that way because now I offer a much more gentle class. And I was pretty gentle before, you know?
Yes.
And now it's even more gentle, one for the sake of my body, but also I just have learned over time that a lot of people need that too. To just slow down, get the body, breathe through the poses. And that's what's really resonated with me, and I think with other people as well.
No, same.
We all need it.
I was very vinyasa flow, work the body, sweat it out.
Yeah.
Then I was like, we are rushing every day, all day through life. We need a moment where we can slow down, again, get into the body, have a breath. And so I try to do a pretty extensive intro, breathing, relaxing, and shavasana.
Yeah.
Okay. Yoga or YTT has not just led you to yoga.
Correct.
Also, because something happened in your life.
Yes.
Yoga happened, and then there's a thing, and then you got into your own business.
Yes.
What was that?
Yes.
What was that middle piece?
Okay, so the middle piece is, and I got laid off from my corporate job in January. And this really wasn't that shocking to me, actually. Like, I knew in the back of my mind that I was like, I know I'm going to get laid off one day. I don't know, call it intuition, whatever you like. And at that time, I had already been premeditating that one day I wanted to leave the corporate world. And so when it happened, it was still very shocking, but I was like, okay, well, it's time.
Yeah.
It's time for me to go. And so I took that as an opportunity to turn my back on this career that I have built over 10 years. It's just like crazy to say out loud, but that's what I decided to do because I'd always envisioned myself offering healing to others, especially as I've dove down this path of spirituality. I've questioned my own spirituality, and I've read a ton of books on different spiritual topics, I guess, if you want to call it that. I'll call it esoteric topics regarding energy healing, regarding yoga, regarding different perspectives, ancient philosophies even. And so I knew that down the line, I really wanted to build my own personal private practice to be able to offer one-on-ones to others. And now it's, I have a million ideas now, but that happened. It's been a wild ride. It's been 6 months now since it happened. And what I didn't expect is that during this 6-month process, it would be a lot of healing for myself. It's really been a process of like rewiring what I think success looks like, how I think about work, because there's a lot of conditioning that I guess comes with being in the corporate world that you have built through schooling and you built through college and then being actually in a corporate environment. And so it's been a lot of healing actually since January. I thought I was just going to hit the ground running and this would just be, that I would just be flourishing by the time summer came around, but it's not how things work. I had to really process and heal what that meant for me and what that meant for me, even just to think about money, how we make money and making it in a meaningful way. So that's what's been happening over the past 6 months. And I feel like I'm in a place now where I feel ready to start offering these services now, coming from a more centered, grounded, and healed place.
There's a quote that says, hurt people hurt people. People who are hurting hurt other people. And it's hard to, want to heal or to even heal other people and give of yourself fully and energetically and in a positive tone, right? When you are still hurting and need to work on yourself and heal yourself.
Yeah.
Right? RuPaul says, if you don't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else?
Right.
You know? Mm-hmm. Same thing. If you can't, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
And time also helps with that.
Yes.
Right. Even me having this podcast, I thought I was ready before. Mm-hmm. And I really don't think I was. Being authentic and like sharing my story with people was not something that I wasn't ready. And I think it was most like admitting to myself that those things happened, or I felt a certain type of way to be able to share that.
Yeah. Well, and when something happens, everybody deals with it in their own way. So for me, like my programming was to just like, no, go away, push it aside. I didn't want to deal with it until it's been even like healing some of the pain that I was still feeling from my grandma's death. Like that had come up, which was surprising to me. But, everybody has these defense mechanisms, if you will, when they deal with pain, hurt, and emotion, for example, or even like a big life change, like getting laid off. It's a lot. It's a big like ego slap, really. And I had it.
Real.
It is. And it's like, oh, this company didn't want me. And it's having to let go of some of those thoughts and being able to process them and be like, okay, why am I really feeling this way? Why do I feel like I got slapped in the face? It comes from something so much deeper, right? Like the need to impress or please others. And so it's really just understanding like what it is at the core of this emotion or this feeling that you're feeling. And this is actually a good segue into energy work because what happens is like people tend to store it in the body when these emotions are felt or fully expressed or understood. Even people store that in the body and it shows up as pain. And so this is also it's been a crazy 6-month whirlwind of a lot of energy healing to myself. And so speaking of, if you can't love yourself, how can you love others? If I can't heal myself, how can I heal others? And so that's really what's been happening over the course of 6 months and like really digging into some of these super deep emotions that have just been sitting in the body and showing up as pain in my hips, in my back, my shoulders. So it's been a wild ride.
I mean, okay, I really want to dive in.
Yes.
I wanted to dive in,
Yes.
but I also had to respect our listeners and our watchers, right? Let's back it up.
Reel it in.
Let's back it up.
Okay.
Like taking this like middle school level, what is energy healing?
Yes. Okay. So energy is so elusive, right? We're just talking about this. Like you can't see it, you can't feel it. Well, you can, but it's not as, hi, here I am on energy. It's really subtle. Energy is within us. It's around us. Energy is the walls. It's your t-shirt. It's your glasses. It's these yoga blocks over there. When you think about energy and you think about everything that surrounds us, according to Hermetic philosophy, which is super old, esoteric, ancient Greek and Egyptian philosophy that sort of helps understand exactly what energy is, everything vibrates. Everything vibrates at a different rate. So energy, physical matter is like super high vibrating energy particles, right? And that's a really scientific way to look at it. But that's what creates physical matter. And so everything vibrates. And so when people ask, can you tell if I have good or bad energy? No, energy is not good nor bad. It just vibrates at different frequencies. And so the earth itself, it is encompassed by this almost energetic layer. It's like a bioenergetic layer that surrounds the earth. It sort of protects it, but it kind of like radiates out this energy. And us being on the earth, we also radiate this sort of field of energy. And so a lot of what energy work is, it's clearing this auric field that surrounds us because we actually live inside ourselves. Our physical body is encompassed by different energetic layers. And so with us sitting this close together, like we're sharing energy. And so that's why when you're in a room with people and you sort of feel the vibe of a room, if you will, or the energy of a room, is because all of these people's energies are super compact and they sort of create this bigger bubble. And so much of what energy work is sort of clearing this field, because when you share space with somebody, again, you physically share their energy. So I may take home some of your energy. You may take home some energy that was left in this space. That's why I cleared this space before we actually sat down. And you just sort of pick up energy where you go. And so a lot of it is sort of clearing the field, resetting your energy, if you will. And so when we have energy in the field, it eventually makes its way into the body. And that's why some people experience random stomach aches, for example. But this can also manifest from within as well. And so when we hold on to emotions, when we don't let ourselves express that energy, it just gets stored in the body and the muscles. And so a lot of what I do as well is like clearing it from the inside out. I'll stop there because it's kind of a lot. It's a lot to think about because you can't physically see it. Some people can, like I mentioned before. Some people develop higher sense perceptions as they begin to radiate higher in frequency. They become more open to energy. They can start to feel the energy in a different way.
It's interesting that you said, what's the vibe in the room, right? That's a thing. Well, before I come over there, what's the vibe?
Yeah.
What we feeling tonight? And it'd be like, what if we were really like, what's the vibe over there?
What's the frequency?
What's the frequency? You know, like, what's the vibe? Oh, everybody's drinking, they doing this, be dancing, music's playing.
Yeah.
No. What's the vibe? Be like, oh, I'm seeing these colors. Nah, don't come over here. The energy is high. Shit is shaking. That's not for me right now. You know, what if that's the conversation?
Yeah, right. I mean, it could be.
It very well could be. And it doesn't have to be this language, right? Could just be like, nah.
Yeah. But I mean, it goes to show that we all feel it in a really subtle way, right?
Exactly.
Or when somebody says, that guy has bad vibes.
Yeah.
That girl has really great energy. I mean, you feel it.
For sure.
And everybody perceives energy differently.
Yeah.
For me, it's always been a very kinetic connection, meaning I physically feel it in my hands and my body. And as I've done more energy work, it's gotten stronger. But, you also probably have your own unique way of feeling it too. Everybody has higher sense perceptions. And there's typically 3 major ones that people can work to develop over time that are just sort of innate. And the more you do this work, everybody has these gifts.
No, sure.
Everybody has the ability to perceive energy. It's just going to show up different for them. I think a lot of people are just claircognizant. People were highly intuitive. That's just how they perceive energy. That's how they receive insights from divinity, from God, if you will. And a lot of times it's just understanding that and just knowing that you can perceive it and feel it in your own unique way. You don't have to be clairvoyant in order to do this kind of work. You don't have to be seeing ghosts in the corner or enter someone's physical energy field. Everybody can do this work. So, and that's what I really attached on to in yoga teacher training. Jeremy came in and Savion was not for me, and I was give me more and he told me more about this stuff. But now it's changed for you.
It has changed. And I also thought about intuition as energy, and then that sixth sense, right? When they talk about you're walking in the park and you get that,
oh, this feels different.
Yep, something's a little off. And, again, I'm just thinking about those podcasts I listen to. Scary stories. Oh, I noticed this person behind a tree following me.
Well, remember when Jerry said, I think he said in yoga teacher training, he's you can feel when someone's staring at you. And you can. If you turn around and you're oh my gosh, this person's staring at me. It's they're literally sending you their energy.
Yeah, we all have it.
Yeah.
And what are we doing with it?
Yeah.
And so for me, I feel it in my body as well. But I think I listen to words a lot. Words really have meaning and power, serving intention. And I go, ooh, that was an interesting word choice.
Yeah.
Why that one?
Yeah.
And then how does that sit with me?
Yeah.
Tells me a lot about people. And then just
a little bit of clairaudience. That could be, how you perceive.
I don't know what that is.
It's hearing. Hearing energy. Words, for example. Music probably really moves you as well.
It almost been to my yoga class. Now I'm very selective with my music. It has a message to it.
And it creates vibe.
And a good vibe.
It creates energy in a space.
So when during my tea, meeting Jerry, I was okay, this is extreme, which is also interesting coming from my Christian background that I have. We do put hands on prayer and sending that energy or healing. But then when Jerry did it, I was bro, this is weird. I'm just like having an aha moment literally right now of
Don't you love that?
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It was the same thing. But I was so turned off by it. And maybe because that's kind of like where I was even with Christianity at that time, of just like processing what that means to me, who I am, and all of that. And so I think I put all of that to the side, like denied all of it until we went to Ecuador and saw Jerry. And it was just like, oh, you really are a great guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that wasn't fake. Like that's truly you.
Yeah.
And I saw that in myself. It was like, oh, I don't think I am faking this anymore. I have the mask that everything's okay. Like, actually, things are really good. And maybe that's just a piece that I've always had. That was really emotional for me, as you saw.
Yeah.
And
rightfully so. I mean, that's a really big breakthrough to have, especially while you're in a different country with this bunch of people you really don't know.
To have that moment of like, who am I really?
Yeah, and how do I relate to God now?
Yeah. So yoga has been really good on that energy and just being able to, as a teacher, be in that space and feel the energy and go, ooh, we need to change the flow. I've literally changed the playlist in the middle of class. Like, this isn't about
This isn't it. Yeah.
We need to just something softer
or
whatever. And so that's been really cool. What would be, knowing that you're doing this now, like what's a piece of advice that you'd give someone when it comes to energy, understanding that, and recognizing it?
Yeah. I would just say, take time and space to sit with yourself, like sit with your own energy, if you will. And when I first started doing meditations, they were always guided. And now when I go into my she shed, I call it, it's my little sacred space. I take a moment to just sit with myself. I place my hands over my heart. I get really quiet. I start to tune into my breath. I center, kind of what we did at the beginning of this conversation. And I just ask myself, what do I need today? Another question you can ask yourself is, what does my soul need to know? What is my heart telling me? And, from there, the more quiet you get and the more you're able to really quiet out the thoughts, it takes time and practice. But even having a 2-minute practice of this, just sitting with yourself, noticing sensations that arise, noticing where you're feeling little pings in the body, noticing how you're emotionally feeling is really helpful, because those are all indicators as to like what's going on in the broader picture. The more time you can spend with yourself, the more you're going to become attuned to how you perceive energy, how you perceive emotions, sort of things move you. And it really just starts with you. So take some time. Even if you're sitting in your office and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling overwhelmed, sit in your office chair, get really quiet, put your feet on the ground, and just be with yourself. Doing this outside is really great too.
Yeah.
Like the best place to do it. But that's how I started to learn to meditate on my own, is I would just take time to sit centered and see what I needed. And sometimes I just needed a quick lay down for like 5 minutes. Sometimes I'm like, oof, there is a lot of emotion here that's just sitting in my chest. And so, I let it out. It looks different every day, but
1,000%.
Yeah. A lot of things are moving in and out of our physical bodies every day around us, especially when we're interacting with people, even if it is virtually, like you're still sharing energy with that person, because words are still energy. Again, everything carries a frequency. And so words that you exchange with somebody is even energy.
So obviously this is a passion of yours.
Clearly.
Obviously you love this. So laid off in January.
Yes.
You've been processing what life is for you now. What's next? What are you doing?
Yes. Okay. So now what I'm doing is I'm working on building different types of service offerings to be able to offer one-on-one healing work with people. What it looks like for me is I combine yoga and energy healing. So I typically will use restorative postures, because yoga is really beautiful in helping physically move the energy. As we were talking about with pyramid pose, it's a really grounding pose. It starts to open up the root chakra. In the past 6 months, and even prior to being laid off, I was really diving into okay, how does yoga facilitate the movement of energy? Because you can feel it when you're practicing in class. You're like, oh my gosh, I feel amazing after class. And it's because you start to move the energy, you start to move energy out of your field. It's really a releasing practice. And so I've really been diving into that, like what postures open up certain chakras. And so as I'm guiding people in really comfortable, restorative postures, I'll come around and facilitate energy healing. Energy healing for me, again, is clearing the field, clearing the chakras. It's all heart-centered, intention-based work. And so I hold the intention in my heart space. I channel the energy from my crown, my third eye, my throat, my heart, down my arms and out through my hands. It's all heart-centered, intention-based work. And so I'll hold the intention of the person that I'm offering energy healing to in my heart space and send that out through my hands. Because again, thoughts are also energy. Thoughts are radiate a certain frequency as well. And so when you hold the frequency of unconditional love in your mind and in your heart, you can start to send that out to somebody. And so I've been working on building a one-on-one practice doing that. I'm hosting a ton of workshops around the city to sort of facilitate this in a really small group. One, to spread awareness, and two, because I really love holding intentional space with people. And so I'll host it with max of 5 people, and I'll guide them through very specific postures, and I'll sort of curate it around a theme. For example, so the last series of events that I held were all themed around the summer solstice. And so I'm really intentional with poses and really intentional with different techniques that I use as I go around and offer healing. But I'm also offering them even some like self-practices that they can take home with them. So it's always incorporating some sort of breath work or pranayama, always some sort of self-guided meditation, and even just simple yogic kriyas. Yoga kriyas are techniques that people can do for themselves to help also facilitate the movement of energy.
I love the fact that you send them home with something.
Yes. It's important because, I mean, think about when you go on a retreat, for example, you do all of this self-work and then you go home and you have to go into the real world. It's like, whoa, it was really jarring for me. I'm not sure what your experience was like, but I had a really hard time coming back into the real world. And so it was in that moment that I realized how important integration was, being able to integrate some of this esoteric things or energy work that you do. And how can I bring this into my everyday life? Because they feel like very two separate worlds. And right now they very much are. And so I think it's really important to blend the two. Like, how can I do something that's really small every single day to help keep me balanced? And sometimes it is like, that's all you really need is something really small. For example, when I first started meditating, I would just do 10 minutes twice a day. And that was so impactful. Like 20 minutes in your full 12-hour day, it's crazy to think about, but it can offer a lot. So really small micro changes, I think, make the world's difference.
Yeah. I mean, even 10 minutes feels long. So in the very first episode I did, with Marlena, Serving Discipline, we talked about meditation and just like being with ourselves and our struggle with that. And I think so many people struggle with being with themselves. Mm-hmm. And I try to, and I'm very intentional with that word choice as well. Yeah. Like, you can be alone or you can be with yourself.
Right. We have so many distractions. Like, think about how often we just sit on our phone doom scrolling. That's a huge distraction. TV is a distraction. I used to listen to podcasts while I cooked, and I was like, wait a second. Like, why can't I just be in the moment cooking this meal? But I think mindfulness can stretch so far beyond even meditation. I have a friend who intentionally sits with tea every morning, and that's how she meditates. That's how she sits with herself. I think it can look different for everybody. Some people like to color or paint, and that's how they can really sit with themselves and be with their mind, being with thoughts that are coming through and like being aware of them. We have so many thoughts that should circulate in our mind's eye, and we're not even aware that they happen. And again, that's all energy, it's frequency. And so if you're like unintentionally saying negative things about yourself, that's going to radiate out in your life. And so it's like finding anything that can help you just be aware of your mind, I think, is the most beautiful mindfulness practice.
Yeah. And that is mindfulness.
Yeah.
If what? No, what? I was like, What's that movie where they dream into a dream?
Inception.
Yes. Like mindfulness is like going into your mind.
Yeah.
And it's just like sitting with those thoughts and
And
realizing.
for some people, it can be scary.
Oh, well, yeah, because
I know the scary phases.
you're like saying things to yourself that you don't know you're saying.
Right.
You know, when you say, when you have negative thoughts that come out, but some folks don't even know that they're having negative thoughts.
Yeah.
Because it's become so common.
Just like autoplay.
Exactly.
Autopilot.
Yeah. And that's how you get to make change.
Yeah.
You have to start to be with yourself and realize what you're doing, what you're thinking, what you're saying, which all still goes together and connects.
Yeah.
And then you can start making changes.
Yeah.
And that's why it's hard for folks to make change.
Yeah.
Because they're not doing it with an intention.
Yeah.
It's just happening.
Yeah.
But then we come back to that old routine instead.
Old patterns. And I don't want to, people are not sometimes even at fault. Like we live in a really fast paced environment.
For sure.
Like I worked in corporate, like you're just trying to get through your 8-hour workday, which 8 hours is a long time to be sitting at your desk.
1,000%.
And for sitting at your desk, you actually accumulate a lot of stress, which is crazy to think about. And then after that, they have to go home, cook dinner. Maybe they work out, whatever it is they do. But, people get into these routines. And so if you think about your routine, like what are little areas within your routine that you can incorporate mindfulness? Maybe it's taking a 5-minute walk outside and being really intentional with your walk, like listening to the birds, listening to traffic. Just, really being in tune to what you hear, what you see, and what you feel. And that's what I started doing when I was even working corporate after yoga teacher training. Like we had been out of it for maybe half a year at that point. And that was a really hard integration too, coming out of yoga teacher training, having this container once a month. And now I have to create my own container. So how can I do that in a way that works for me?
Yeah. Wow, you've used a lot of words that we've named the episodes already. Serving intention, serving discipline. It takes discipline to meditate every day.
Yeah.
Those 2 times for 10 minutes. Discipline. What we have here and what the yoga serving community, we build that, and that container can also be that. What's your community like? And what are you surrounding yourself with? That's going to help with those thoughts. It's going to help with healing.
Yeah.
Right? Girl, this podcast is giving life. You better eat it up because it is serving. Okay? Serving. I love it. All right. Let's talk about your workshops.
Okay.
What do you have coming up?
Okay, so I have quite a few. What I've been doing at both Helium Hot Yoga, actually in the cozy room that we're in now. So I've been hosting really small group workshops in this space. Like I mentioned before, it's with 5 people maximum. And this is something that I have been doing on a monthly basis. And I really want to offer this as sort of a monthly reset for people. And so it's a max of 5 people. I will gear it around a different theme. And so this past theme was really around nourishment. Prior to that, it was really about grounding into self-worth. And so I'll offer a wide range of different techniques, breath work, meditation, self-clearing energetic practices, Kundalini yoga practices, which we won't get into that today, but it's basically the movement of energy. And so I'll incorporate that throughout the 1.5 hour long practice. But majority of the practice is me guiding you through really comfortable yogic postures that you can hang out in for a period of time, and then coming around and offering hands-on healing. Past session was a lot of heart work. When you think about the summer solstice, it's really about shining the light from within, and the heart center is really a portal to your soul and to source. So it's really opening up the heart center and opening people up to more light. And so themes are generally around sort of what's going on seasonally. Again, what I sense people might need based on even my own needs, based on conversations I have with other people, especially in summer. People just need to ground. Truly, there is a lot of fire within and heat around us. So it's really practices to help cool down the body, but also just cool the mind as well. People just need a break. So it'll change as seasons change as well. But I host that here on a monthly basis. I also host a similar practice at Collective Flow as well, also on a monthly basis. So those are the two main events that I host on a regular cadence where people can come and really get a feel for the kind of work that I want to do. And then I have a joint workshop. I love collaborating with other people. So I'm hosting a workshop series with our dear friend Vanessa Weber. Vanessa actually led us on our retreat to Ecuador. Amazing. Just a gem of a human being. So we're hosting something similar, but for a larger group of people. And so Vanessa will be guiding the restorative portion, the restorative yoga portion, as well as meditation and breathwork techniques. So then I can really focus on energy work. And so we limit the capacity to 10 people. So it's a little bit more space. I can really focus just on energy work. And I'll also guide people through energetic practices as well. But speaking of sharing energy, it's going to feel a little bit different and look a little bit different just because you're sharing energy with somebody. And so it's really fun for me to collaborate with other people and just bring out things that we're both passionate about. And I've collaborated with a number of people in the past. And so that's one that I'm really excited about. That will be taking place at Love Cafe in Shorewood. Another wonderful, wonderful space. It's an Ashtanga yoga studio by morning and then coffee shop by afternoon. So that's going to be taking place Wednesdays throughout the whole month of July. And so that's really fun because it'll really be a journey through all of the chakras. And so if you've probably heard the word chakras before, we're sort of breaking this into a 4-part series to really help people learn about the chakra system as well, learn about their own chakra system, again, becoming aware of these subtle energies within the body. And that's my primary goal with all of these workshops, is to help people become aware of their own energy, being aware of how they perceive it, what it feels like, to even have energy move throughout the body, because that can feel weird for some people to be like, whoa, I felt that run through my leg. Yeah. And sometimes that happens. I'm also hosting another workshop, and this one's a little bit different, with my friend Alyssa Beasley, who also teaches at Collective Flow. This is sort of a yin and yang workshop. So it's a blended flow, again, to capture both of our energies. She'll be guiding people through a really powerful yang yoga practice. So sort of like a spirited vinyasa. And then I'll guide people through a yin practice or restorative practice. And it's really about cultivating your own personal power, but in two really different ways. One through strength and through developing the energy of feeling powerful. And then the other is a more softer, subtle way, like how can you feel powerful as you're open and vulnerable in these poses. So that's what's coming up in July. I have tons and tons throughout summer as well coming up.
Well, because this is something that you are passionate about, that you love, and are making a career out of?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It will be, well, these are going to be happening all the time then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There will be no shortage of events coming up.
So you talked about where people can find you on Instagram.
Instagram's probably the best place.
And that's Flow with what?
O flows. O_flows.
The letter O.
Yep, the letter O.
Underscore.
All lowercase.
It's your handle.
Yep. Follow O flows for now, but you'll really be following the Awakened Alchemy. I have my LLC, which I'm really excited about. I remember, it was probably in 2020, I wrote down by the time I'm 30, I want to be running my own business. And I'm 30, and I have my own LLC. And so again, speaking of intention, write that shit down. Set those intentions, preferably on a new moon.
I just learned that this year.
Yeah.
New moons are the time to write things down.
Full moons are the time to release.
So I like to end the episode with, I call it the final sip. And it is just that one word or sentence to leave the audience with. I'm a good, high energetic, maybe not high energy, but positive energy, energetic note.
I would just say, in the best way possible, seeing how you can live with more intention. I think that word has come up a lot for us today. It's like, how can you intentionally sit down and eat your breakfast? How can you intentionally sit down at your desk and do your work? How can you intentionally even go through a yoga practice? Like, some people And I, like myself included, sometimes I'll just like flow through a yoga practice and my mind's all over the place. How can you be intentional with like feeling what it feels like to connect your hands onto the mat even? And you can do that in so many different little ways. Like how can you intentionally drink your coffee in the morning? Like really enjoy those sips of coffee. Maybe that's the only 5 minutes that you have to really be with yourself.
Driving. If you're a commuter.
Oh my God.
The amount of times I would not listen to anything on my drive home from work.
Yeah.
And just be like, finally.
Yes.
Quiet.
Yes.
Intention. And also because we can get so driver hypnosis.
Yeah.
Right? We're just cruising.
Oh yeah. And I'm even guilty of that.
1,000%.
Today I'm like, oh my God, where am I? Like I'll literally snap out of it like, oh my gosh, I'm on the drive now. I've missed turns on the highway. I'm like, oh, okay, reel it in, Olivia. You need to focus. So you need to be intentional sometimes too. But again, it's so easy to just live in a really distracted world. The world wants to distract you, it feels like sometimes. So even set intention, set the intention for your day. When you wake up in the morning, like how Sadie and I set the intention for this conversation, set the intention today maybe to live with more joy. You can wake up and say, I set the intention to live with more joy today, or to live with intentionality, if you will.
Facts. Well, that episode is already named. I can't do the episode title for this one. But thank you for joining us for another episode on the Feed the Soul podcast. Remember, to the world, you may be one person, but to one person, you may be the world. Go in peace, and we'll catch you in the next episode.